Hey, everybody, you're listening to a very special edition of Two Podcasts. It's actually a crossover. I'm Shane. I'm here joined by my co-host, Bennett, of our podcast, Real Rap, a podcast about adaptations. And we're also joined by your very own Wide Flank, a podcast about video games that I've known and loved for a long time. We're here with Alon and Sean. And today, we're talking about the one and only James Bond, 007, you might know him as. In the Sean Connery vein, we read the book by Ian Fleming, From Russia with Love. We watched the movie with Sean Connery, From Russia with Love, and we played the GameCube, PlayStation / Xbox or something iteration of From Russia with Love, starring Sean Connery in his very last performance as James Bond. Guys, what do you think of...
Say that one more time. Now can we do a wide flank style intro?
Yeah, you just did it. You literally just did it.
Welcome to Wide Flank. Welcome to Wide Flank Real Rap crossover episode of podcast. Alon and I, who host Wide Flank, are joined by Bennett and Shane of Real Rap. And we're here to get real and rap about Sean Connery's famous character of spy, Bond, book. Film,
what's happening? Are me and Bennett gonna have to do this next? Because I don't want to do this.
It's sort of a round robin tournament.
That was great. Oh my god, that was so great. Wow, where do we even begin? What a thing we got here.
I certainly don't know where to begin because we're doing a movie, a book, and a video game, which, you know, we've only done like book to movie or book to game or game to book or book Halo game to Halo novelization.
Okay. Yeah, that's getting there.
So I've never done the three-way, and honestly, Sean and I were talking a little bit last night about he was like, I don't know if I should be I'm watching it and then playing the game, and I was like, I was with my wife, I was watching the movie. Then I got into bed and started reading the book, and she turned to me and was like, "Are you is this real? You're still doing this?
Are you cool?"
Yeah. And then I got up the next day and started playing the game, and it's there's no distinction between anything. I'm in complete hell of Bond adaptation.
Oh my god, that is so funny.
The lines are blurring between different iterations of Bond. It's fluid.
Maybe we should just start with the book because it's the original source text. Yeah, right.
The original text.
It's what came out first,
and I think technically the game is an adaptation of the movie. The game didn't go back to the book, right? So it is kind of chronological. It kind of makes sense to go from there. But was this everyone's first Bond book, Ian Fleming Bond book? Because it was mine.
No, I read Casino Royale probably in 10th or 11th grade. It was a beach read for me. And I have to say, I didn't think much of it, but when I was going back and doing my Wikipedia research, the opening paragraph of Casino Royale is actually quite arresting. And if I could vamp for a second, I could pull it up for you.
Please.
Arresting.
How about Wikipedia, folks?
Is it loading?
God damn it.
You can't trust it. It's a secondary source.
Yo. That's so true. Anybody can edit a Wikipedia, Wikipedia. And there's no guardrails. Nobody ever checks any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen.
Martin Shkreli makes 98% of the edits, I heard.
Oh. And 98% of his income is from Wikipedia edits.
From said edits.
All right, hit us with the intro.
Yeah, the opening lines of Casino Royale are the scent and smoke and sweat of a casino are nauseating at 3 a.m. Then the soul erosion produced by high gambling, a compost of greed and fear and nervous tension, becomes unbearable, and the senses awake and revolt from it. That didn't hit me when I was 16, and I read it on Wikipedia as a 31-year-old, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, shit.
He's really on some shit.
That flows right into one of my biggest takes about what Ian Fleming is into as a writer, seemingly. Which is I think he's kind of obsessed with the details of the human body and like from a sensory level, because that's all like that was a grimy bit of writing right there of like it smells, it's gross. And the way that this book that we're talking about opens is just like a vivid description of a man's torso, but it's like a the torso is like hot, but you don't like it. Like it's an off-putting hot piece of meat torso. Yeah. So yeah, like I do kind of want to, when talking about the book, I am like coming at this from a perspective of like, who's Ian Fleming? What's his deal? Like, what is the perspective of the person writing this, as opposed to like what I think I know about Bond from watching the films, from playing the video games. Like I was trying to sort of read it in a vacuum and being like, who's this author? What is this? So like, yeah.
I read, I didn't read anything else, and I was just kind of going into it blind, totally in reverse, in that like the first Bond thing I ever experienced was Nintendo 64 GoldenEye.
Same.
And then I watched the Pierce Brosnan movies, and then I, maybe saw like a Dr. No or Goldfinger. So it was all backwards for me. And then I finally, this is the first Bond book I've ever read. And it was interesting to see it all like in its original form, because I wouldn't say it's really similar to the movies or, of course, not the video game. Like there's just so much about it that's, I think, stranger than the movies. There's a lot of just milling around. There's a lot of drinking and smoking. I think in the movies there's more having sex, but there's not that much in the book. And you would think that Ian Fleming is like a sex addict, but I would honestly say he seems kind of like take it or leave it about sex.
Like,
it's
like
more just like
sex less, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I know it happens, and
He's
that
like
people are interested in it.
He's like, what if we just hung out and smoked all night?
Yeah, I mean,
what if you and I smoked this whole pack?
He's like kind of the narrator, I guess, is how I kind of understood it. And he has that sort of like really like emotionless tone of just like, I'm going to spend the next 3 paragraphs describing how the sun is hitting the wall in this green room, and how the smoke smells and how it like feels on your skin, and like just obsessive detail, and like brands are being named, and like clothing is being described. It's like so over the top. And then for me, I was kind of like jumping between the book and movie for a lot of it. And then I would watch the movie and I was like, oh, the first, 120 pages of the book were done in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Exactly. I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, this isn't right. Like, I loved all that other stuff.
And the inverse of that for me is reading the book and like getting a third of the way into the book and like repeatedly thinking like, where's the gosh darn James Bond in this book? Where's my Bond? Because like the book, like it, and that's not a critical note. It's not like, I wish James Bond showed up sooner. Like, who cares? Because like the book is clearly occupied with like, this is how Russian spy operatives are talking about all of us in the West. And like, because it takes that stuff pretty seriously, I think. Like it wants you to believe like these Russians have it out for this British spy, and like think about the Cold War, everybody. Like I don't get that he's like paranoid about the Cold War necessarily, but it's like there's a lot of like focus and humanity to the Russian characters, oddly enough.
His author's note is funny. It's something like, oh, not that it matters, but some of this stuff is actually true, which is sort of funny. Like, I don't know, they've actually got these crazy assassins and these sort of like grotesque women with like knives in their shoe. And it's very funny to think of. I mean, one of the little like Wikipedia factoids that I got was that there was like a Life magazine article in which John F. Kennedy called this one of his favorite books. And it is kind of funny to imagine like one of the actual like architects of the Cold War reading this and like kicking up his feet and like talking on like a pink telephone to his brother. Yeah. It's very much like, I don't know, it's like an adult playing with like a model train and wearing like a choo-choo cap to me. The thought of like John F. Kennedy reading From Russia with Love. And not that it's a book for children, but I don't know. I mean, so much of my attitude with Bond is like, coming across it as a child and it being like lifestyle porn before you're aware of the concept of lifestyle porn, before you're aware of the concept of porn or a lifestyle, you know.
It's really like a menswear ad.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just didn't know it.
And like a tourism advertisement for Istanbul or
Monte
wherever.
Carlo or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like wherever they shot, which I'm getting at it. We're getting all out of order, but I think inevitably we're just going to start swirling around everything. They literally shot the film in Istanbul.
Yeah,
that's
like,
cool.
It's on location, and like that's kind of the perspective. That's one of the more generous perspectives I've had towards the Bond films as I've gotten older. Is like, even if the script is a total stinker, which like I don't want to run my mouth, but like often enough. Even if the script is a total stinker, like you're still seeing photography of like wild places. So like, okay, I'll go look at Istanbul for a while.
And there's usually decent action. Like there's something to see. I think the movies make a lot of effort to like cover over the bad. I shouldn't say bad, but like emptier storylines by just like plastering in like we will have the car have a machine gun on it.
Do you mean like emptier
the drive there?
Emptier aspects of the storylines, or
like when they just have to like get from A to B. Like this happens in the game.
Yeah. Boats
where there's a boat scene in the movie. And they just have to get from A to B. And in the game, they mount a machine gun to the boat. And it's just like, instead of getting from A to B, you're shooting like 1,000 soldiers in that A to B. So it's like, like, oh, if we can't figure out how to adapt to like talking about the green walls and the guy's nice sweaty abdomen, we can like just have people shoot each other or start fucking.
And to even go further back in the book, that scene, and this, I don't think the goal of this podcast is like the movie was this way, the book was this way, like what? but like there's like multiple levels of abstraction at work here, because that boat sequence in the film and video game, what I remember about the boat sequence is Bond's friend Kareem Bey.
Yeah,
it's like reversed. It's like
Kerim Bey.
Baker.
So, yeah.
Point is that like what I remember from that sequence is him explaining like, here's how we found out about this secret passageway. And it's like the conversation is the propulsive thing of like, we're moving through this, but like, here's how we got here, and I had to pay off a friend and blah blah blah. So like a conversation about how this character discovered the locale gets transformed into an extended boat ride. I don't even remember what they talk about in the film. Like,
I think they do touch on how he's like, I had to like, fake some permits and stuff. But
sure. There's a little bit of it, but it's not as much of like a story. And so we go from like this thing that feels like again, this isn't like book good, video game stupid bad, but it goes from being this man describing something very specific about his life that has impacted what they're doing right then, to shooting a bunch of guys with a minigun for 20 minutes. Yeah. And like it's super disconnected. Like the question of like adapting is like,
I mean, I feel like, as you sort of like sift from, the book to then the movie to then the video game adapted, like, you're obviously going to lose some things when you're like almost translating. Like it's almost like translating between languages or something. But like I was recently in Istanbul, and it's like the coolest looking city I've ever been to. It's unbelievable, like the skylines and everything. And the underground, like I forget if it's a temple or what the exact name. The part where they're in the boat and they're going underground under the Russian office is like one of the top touristy things to see, and it's this like insane historic ancient temple. And I did notice that part a lot, especially because the video game's so psycho. But like in the book, they like are really respectful of it, and like this is like this like incredible underground tunnel under this one of maybe like 2 ancient cities in all of Europe, like Istanbul and like Rome. And it looks incredible in the movie too, right? Because they're actually on location. And it's just like, what is this place? This is insane. And the video game's just like, well,
bang, 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 bang.
Gotta frag out. Just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're shooting dynamite on the walls to like trigger opening like a huge door.
It's just like, I've never asked a video game to have more cutscenes, but like, couldn't they just had some cutscenes or something?
They should have had some cutscenes because there's, like, I kept thinking, very crudely thinking of like, if you like, okay, you digest the book and you like shit it out and it's the movie, and then you eat the shit of the movie and then you shit it out again. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to scandalize your audience.
That's true.
That's gross.
But it just like, it was like, there was parts of the game where I was like, oh, they're like talking about that one part of the movie, but like, that's like a abstraction from like some other scene in the book. And it gets to the point where I just feel like I almost feel bad for Ian Fleming that he's a pervert and seems very strange, and I don't really care for him personally.
Okay.
But I should have more to say about that. But like, his work just gets kind of like, it's like, well, the writing's nice and all, but it's really, we just figure like the spy shit is like what people want, and the shooting people and having sex is like awesome, so we're just gonna take that and like just we'll give you $1 jillion.
To use a less like heinous metaphor, it's like taking like prime steak or whatever. I love a burger, we all love a burger. But it's like taking something that like, it's like, I'm going to serve you this steak, but then it's just ground up and like repurposed and like spat out as like, but digest this.
Right. It's like you...
Go.
I was going to say, you ask for a martini and then they shake it in your face the way Bond likes it. It's like, well, I wasn't thinking that, but okay.
I wanted it stirred. Did he say that in this film?
No.
No, he drinks mostly Rocky, which is like this... anise flavored liquor. I can't drink, but I was smelling everyone drinking it around me, and everyone loved it. So I was jealous of that.
Is this cool. Like an Istanbul specific? Like,
that's what everyone drinks.
Yeah, and Kerim is like, oh, Istanbul sucks ass. All their food sucks. The drinks suck. The vodka's okay.
Watered down, it's okay. Or tonic
He's
down.
Shitting on it the whole time.
Yeah, there's a lot of like interpersonal stuff between Bond and Kerim that's like finally these... Okay, two things. One, this book is like, finally these men have found each other with Kerim and James. But so the first third of the book is like no James. It's like checking in with like a straight up psychopath who's like, I found that I liked to kill. And like, but
Grant.
One of that dude's chapters ends with like, I hope there's some man out there who could fight me, perhaps. And it's like, oh, like music sting of James Bond. Because literally, as I'm reading this book, I'm like, it's not like there isn't thematic information in this book. Like, there are like things going on. There are ideas in this book. And right now I'm thinking about the idea of like, just people discovering each other in the world. And like, because Kerim and James, it's like very much like, these two men have found each other. But then like Donovan, who's the villain that I'm describing with the muscly body, and is depicted as a psychopath, like rendered as a serial killer. He like wants to discover Bond. Like he's like yearning for, I'm going real big brain with this right now, but like truly it's like, one of the characters is a man who's yearning for connection with Bond in one way. Another character is yearning for connection with Bond in a different way. And then like the core love story that we haven't even mentioned at all. The love in the title of these three properties is not it's not a metaphor. It's quite literal.
Well, and it's also totally contrived, right? It arises from this sort of, conspiracy plot to discredit Bond and ultimately kill him. Whereas, Bond didn't count on the connections with either of these other two men. I love the way Green Bay is described in the book. He describes him as like the sun.
Love.
Really, really great. And he's so like brokenhearted, although that's how cold-blooded Bond is, that he doesn't like fixate on him once he's dead. He says like, it's like the sun went out and then like we just kind of move on. He's not like, he doesn't spend any time mourning. Yeah. I imagine, I haven't played any of the Orient Express sections of the game, but I imagine you have to like take out the three Russians and stuff. But I like how that's handled in the book. We were talking about how stuff just is handled in conversations. He's just like, I paid off the conductor, or let's just say the conductor can be paid or something like that.
It happens like off screen.
Yeah, I love that.
It's truly.
Yeah, and it's not that's like an action scene without action, whereas the movie can't conceive of things not happening by like the pure will of James Bond. It's like gun hitting somebody in the head, or where like I was surprised they didn't have that in the movie. I'm pretty sure they didn't have that ticket scene, which I found so slick. And the parts of the book that I think like Bond is not he's not like hyper masculine in the way we understand, like, I don't know, Vin Diesel or something. And he's not necessarily a huge fighter. He's kind of a practical killer. Like he kills like 5 guys in like he does it during the girl fight, and then he kills he kills the guy at the end on the train. But he's not like he's more just like sort of practical and cunning, and he does these little tricks of conversation.
I wanted to interrupt to say, like, he's more of a trickster than like a bloodlust. Like he's not just out to have a good time, but he's kind of but that's a different rendering, I think. Like in the film, he's rendered as like tricky Sean Connery, like In the book, he's rendered as like, I don't know what I care about anymore. Like I'm just, but so like, do you think that reflects like the needs of the different mediums? Like, or like why did the films settle into like Bond is like the practicality is consistent, I would say, between like different renderings of the character, but like the trickiness feels like pretty unique, or I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, like, obviously we're going to spoil everything if you didn't know already, listeners. But I think that, like, based on a little bit of research I did with the book, Ian Fleming thought that this would be the last Bond book. Right. That's why it ends the way it ends, where you think he's dead, right? Everyone thinks he's dead. They can't do that by the time the movie comes out, because there's already, like, another Bond probably already announced, and there's probably, like, 10 other books already been written, right? So they can't fake that, and I like that a lot about the book. And I was a little disappointed in the movie how like Bond is really self-conscious, and he's really like, he's not the most clever. Like the Russians completely like school England in that book, right? They're just like, they'll fall for their bait. They're fucking stupid and conceited, and and like the whole, when you first meet Bond, like I don't know when that was, chapter 11 or 12 or something. It's like he's like, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. Like he's like searching inward for meaning in his life and all this stuff. So I liked that version of Bond the most. But once it's like Sean Connery on the big screen, they can't make him like lame. He has to be like the most attractive, who women are obsessed with, or whatever.
Yeah, truly.
I don't know. It just doesn't work, I don't think.
Go for it, Ben.
I was gonna say it's funny. This is like universally seemingly considered the best of the Bond books, and when you look up like rankings of the Bond movies, this is also considered one of the best. And it did not give me what I was looking for in a Bond movie. I didn't really care for the Connery depiction of him. He comes across so much more like, I don't know, like oily and like sleazy than he does in the book. Even though in the book he's like, I don't know, obviously not a great guy, a man of his era, one might say.
Sure, he's terrible. He's terrible.
At least he's not Kareem, but we'll get there.
Kareem,
I would picture him, and if I were doing an adaptation of the book, and if anybody asked me to, I would say yes. But it would be like like a more slight guy, like a kind of neurotic almost.
Yeah,
like is really heavy, like hyper considerate of like his environment. Like Sean Connery, like looks behind like picture frames sometimes to like look for a microphone or something, but he's not like observant, it seems. He's just kind of like the cool guy, and I don't think I don't know. Maybe the Bond of the book doesn't seem super cool. He's almost like more like, you could see why he would come into that role being like kind of a very technical. He's able to like hang out for long periods of time with people he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Maybe to his detriment. Some of my favorite chapters were the soft life.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so good.
Truly.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And he
like,
gets the bad hotel room because he's like, so you can't have it good all the time. You gotta have the bad room. And it has like brown water, and they're like, oh God, like don't stay in that room. He's like, well, what if I told you I like it when it has brown water?
He looks up from a cup filled with brown water and says, "What?"
In the books, he's described, especially in Casino Royale, when they like first introduced him, he's described as looking sort of. It's funny you mention him as being kind of a leaner guy. He's described as looking like Hoagie Carmichael, who's got a kind of a weaselly face.
No idea.
A singer songwriter from like the 30s and 40s. If you look him up, I think weirdly Daniel Craig has the most Hoagie Carmichael look of any of the actors that have played. He's way more muscular. Yeah.
But
he has kind of a similarly kind of weaselly face, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's
Bennett, the Philadelphian, has a one-track mind for hoagies, and he'll take
Hoagie Carmichael. He spells it with a Y though. You should see Jacques
right.
Tourneur's classic film Canyon Passage if you want a great performance from Hoagie Carmichael. Plays sort of a guy who's just kind of like playing and singing songs throughout. It's a recommendation for our listeners as well, folks. Canyon Passage.
Canyon Passage. Up here, we call him Submarine
Ah,
Carmichael.
yes.
Ha cha cha.
There was I think it was like Goodreads or something when I was looking up the book, and the top review or whatever was just James Bond fights the soft life, but ironically becomes soft, ditching sense to reattain love, adventure, and friendship. And I was like, fucking nailed it. Let's go.
Goodreads.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like straight up though, like that's it's one of the weirder. Are we gonna talk about the video game? Because it's like these elements. Like what we're talking about now are like some of my favorite elements of the book. Is like the strife of like, God, I just want to love this woman. Like God, you believe that like both he and her are both like, God, I wish I could just love you, baby.
God. Oh wait, let me interrupt you. Also, in the book, he's literally heartbroken. Sean Connery would never be heartbroken.
Sean Connery go,
true.
Never ever. He's like, oh, she left to America. I got 3 other girls over here. It's like,
never trust a woman. Like,
exactly. Like, damn. Yeah. Sorry.
But it's like there's no capacity for that in an electronic arts video game developed in 2004. Like there's not, and I'm not saying like nowadays there'd be a dating simulator of Bond. Like that doesn't sound good. But, I mean, who's to say?
Does it?
But truly, like the game is extreme, and I'm just riffing off on the game now. Like the game is extremely of its time, and like because it's of its time, there aren't really nuanced, quiet moments that like the film has already started to lose a lot of the quiet moments. The film still has some quiet moments, but by the time we're rendering it as like an interactive piece of like post Brosnan Bond play, which we only have started to talk a little bit. Bennett, you started to say you have like certain expectations of Bond that you're into. I don't know how much time we got to talk about like different iterations of Bond, but like this is a video game that's produced, like I'm saying, like post 90s Bond. So it's like kind of, it's like it knows that you want to see Bond kill. But like it's Sean Connery though, like
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, Shane, in weeks past, how it seems like the video game was designed by someone who had neither read the book nor seen the movie, but was just kind of like aware of like Bond iconography. Had seen the Austin Powers movies, because he's got like a fucking jetpack in the first mission of the
first
video
5
game.
minutes.
Like, what the fuck? He doesn't do this in From Russia with Love. I don't know if he does it in any of the original movies.
They don't have anything close to that technology. He's walking around.
That's the peak of technology in that era. It's his suitcase.
10 gold
knife shoe.
Yeah.
No, the video game is trash.
Well, it's funny too, because like the books, he's supposed to be this like cold-blooded killer, and they really kind of lean into that a little bit more. In the Craig Bond movies, a lot of people get killed, especially in No Time to Die. A lot of people get killed during that kind of like one-shot sequence where he's going up the staircase. But in the video games, if we're to take them seriously, he kills like hundreds of people a day.
Like 10,000 people.
Stop. It's all
do
he
the
does.
CinemaSins guy about video games, but good lord.
Yo.
It's just, like, if you, like, for people who haven't played or watched or whatever, I mean, the movie starts with the hedge maze scene, and he shoots at one person, doesn't even kill them before the exhibition is up. In the video game, you just run around auto targeting on everyone and just killing 100 people,
shooting literally any moving person that you encounter, and
you have unlimited ammo. They can't kill you or even hit you, really. It's
but is that
ridiculous?
Is that downstream from Bond in the 90s, or is that downstream from video game design in the 90s? You know, like there's this famous piece of writing about Doom where like the end of the review is like, would it not be more interesting if we could talk to the demons? And like,
Jesus.
it's like a reviled piece of writing because it's just like, shut up, dude. Like, and that's like also kind of what I'm bringing to this Bond game.
I want to talk.
Like, I want Bond to have a conversation like he does in my book.
Yeah.
Like,
it makes me think of LA Noire. Like they tried to make a game about hanging out and like hit A to smoke cigarettes. Which I wish this. I like LA Noire more than this game. I like the like interactive hanging out.
I like
stuff.
every game more than this game.
I do.
It's one of the worst games
It was
I've ever
hard
played.
to play,
This
but
game's-
like the only way they conceive of action is like you have to be killing. That's what gameplay is like shooting and I guess this game was the engine was like adapted from another game that also kind of sucked, but it comes after the first person games like fucking GoldenEye and Nightfire, I think was before this. And like these great, like I don't know if it's just being first person or something that's better, but like the gadgetry interactivity is much better.
Yeah.
The sneaking, you're sneaking more. This is just none of that.
Sorry, I'm getting all
Go
geeked
ahead.
up now that we're in the game arena. I had a big red flag moment early in this game of you do this train, and there's a part of this game that I do like a lot, but we're not talking about that right now. But you're doing a training sequence, and it like tasks you with like using a laser watch, and it's to like shoot something through a window, and it was just like it didn't even feel like game design. It felt like half a step of game design, and I didn't think about it at the time, but now you mentioned like the gadgetry of the earlier iterations of adapting Bond to games. The GoldenEye has like a laser wristwatch that you have to like aim and like cut out the divots of a thing to drop out of a train, and it's you're not killing, you're tracing rivets so that you can get out of the train. Like that is like such a major step of like accessing the different milieu of the Bond character, like compared with this, which is insisting like, no, we booked Sean Connery, you see. This is James Bond, and it's like this isn't this. And look, I didn't go into this being like, they better not ruin my Bond, but it's like the project is clearly just like, it's a barely functional shooter with a bunch of asset work done to render a film from 50 years ago. Like, I don't understand it.
No, and even in the world of like the infamously bad world of like film adaptations, like we've talked, Shane, about The World Is Not Enough. Like that's a game that has incredible gadget play. You've got like 6 different watches. And the kind of scaling up of difficulties.
X-ray specs.
You have X-ray specs. Cool. The scaling up of difficulties is really great. And I don't know. It's not as if making a compelling James Bond movie adaptation was something new, you know? And they had arguably far better source material with this one than they did with The World Is Not Enough. Or I don't know. People would argue even GoldenEye.
Even GoldenEye, which is like kind of a loud. I like GoldenEye, but it's like it's a bit loud. Like it's
the game or the movie.
The movie has a lot of like really overwrought action sequences and like sexuality and explosions, and like it's like a new Bond for a new era type of movie.
You said it like it's a bad thing, yeah.
Well, I mean, I like it to be clear, but it's like I think the thing is The thing that I'm thinking about now. Sorry, Alon, I cut you off.
No,
what
no,
were you going to
keep going.
say?
No, finish.
The milieu of Bond. Like, I think that's the thing that's sort of shocking me after reading this, which was truly, this was my first James Bond book, that it's like, oh yeah, Bond is comprised of like all these different elements of storytelling. But in like film adaptations, like they're just briefly touched upon to get to propulsive action sequences. Kind of, or like less so in From Russia with Love than with like the Brosnan and the Craig era. I think is like trying to be like high-minded about it in some ways.
I haven't seen like any of the other really old iconic ones. Dr. No was the first one, and then From Russia with Love was the second one. But I wonder if it's almost like a market dictated thing or something, right? Because Dr. No, they have to basically decide, what is this movie? Like, I don't think any of our readings of this book would say that's an action movie, right? Like, I would feel like this is like some espionage, cool
thriller,
yeah, like that. But they made that decision in the '60s, and it made $50 million or $100 million or whatever, and they're just like, that's Bond, that's just Bond for the next 30 years. This is an action thing, so
I'm now thinking about like in the books, what's most interesting is having interactions as a spy, having interactions with other people that are maybe spies, being suspicious. And it's like Bond is the British representation of spies. And then you have like the Russians, and then it's like the most interesting part is how these people interact and having a situation where there's maybe many of them, or you meet somebody and you don't know who they are. I remember parts of reading the book, I'm like, oh, is there going to be like a big reveal that like MI6 put him up to like something that like that there was even more like zoom out shit. But the like that gets kind of bastardized in the movies a little. Like they hint at like that. I think they preserve some of that. But in the books, it's like they don't even see that as a valuable piece of any part of Bond, is like having like spy shit. Like the only thing is like that you can sort of hunch over and crouch and sneak, sort of.
In the game.
Sort of.
Yeah, truly. It's, you can sneak around, but in sequences where I like tried using the sneaking to be like,
It's
is there
impossible.
any meaningful,
No,
does this
it didn't
do anything? But then
There's
you
no
just
sneak
stand up and
attack.
shoot and kill.
You have to
It's
shoot
just-
and then you hit, then you go into fight.
it's like,
Yeah,
it is.
just piggybacking off what you were saying, Shane, I did find it, I'm curious how you guys felt about it, but like when the early part of the book, I was kind of like, what's up with all these Russian words that I don't know the definition of, and all these acronyms and nicknames that like, just like, it was like relentless, just MCU and ABD and like whatever the hell it is. And I was like, they're kind of just going in one ear and out the other. But then like, I feel like as I got used to them, it was kind of like a world building thing where they're just like throwing you in and you're just like seeing everything from their point of view. And what you were saying, Shane, about like being observant is kind of like the vibe of the book, right? Because the narrator's like a fly on the wall, just telling us like what they're seeing or whatever. Like games can do that, right? Like games where you like look around, like Indiana Jones, Sean and I recently did a podcast about, or like other first person stuff where you're like searching around and finding shit on your own or whatever. And they just were like, forget all that. It's like on rails, you auto aim everything, you kill everyone, and you're a god. Yeah.
I think you're forgetting about how you can hold X to go through those filing cabinets and find tabs and shit. You're forgetting a search. You're forgetting a key part of the game.
Yeah, strike that from the record.
Essential
My
mechanic.
God. It's like
He
you
needs
haven't
to have
played
sort
it.
of a filing sort of. The thing about that is, and any time I did it, I'd click X thinking that's what you do.
Yeah.
You actually have to hold it. So he goes up to it, he opens it, and then puts his arms down, and then goes back in. I didn't find out until 3/4 of the way through the game that the research points give you power-ups for your gun.
Oh,
you extend the
that's why
clip.
you do it.
Could have used
Okay.
that 10 fucking
Jeez.
hours ago.
Yeah. Oh God. Because
The
there's
gun
the
shit.
auto aim, and then there's the like, I forget what it's called, like where you can aim
kind
for a
of
specific
focus in.
it is focus something, right? They tell you in the very beginning of the game that gives you like extra RP or whatever. So at the beginning, I was like, all right, I'm going to go for fucking headshots. There's 50 guys on my screen. I'm like, it's like really goofy. Didn't work or do anything. Give me any points.
Don't work.
And then I just was like, all right, I guess I'll just auto aim kill everyone. Like, I have no other decision to make.
And like generously, I did get a point because sometimes on this show, on Wide Flank, on Alon and my show, Wide Flank, we often cover games that are like pretty freaking cerebral. Like you gotta be like really paying attention and thinking about it. And like playing this game, there was a certain sick pleasure in just like, I just gotta walk around and hold a button and hit a button. I don't have to do anything. Like I'm just chilling with this game.
Lobotomized gaming.
Like brain dead is the word I think I said to Alon initially. I was just like, this is a brain dead game. But like, I don't know why I'm trying to celebrate it, because it's like,
what the hell, dude?
It just, there's a certain pleasure. That's all I'm saying. There's a certain pleasure in just like, like,
like you know
whatever.
There's almost like a little GTA to it or something where you just like it should have been more action packed almost is what I'm saying. Like if it's
there
gonna
should be more jetpacks and
like if it's gonna do that, just let me blow up anything.
Go to the moon.
Like,
let me blow the moon up and Earth
out of the atmosphere. Snipe Grant from there. Like grow up.
The game at the end, I was looking at some clip. I did not beat it. Bennett and I got pretty damn far.
Who did?
But there is a whole missile silo and a huge shit that just is not anywhere. I think it's lifting from Dr. No or something. But something I was thinking about is like this game imagines that, okay, for the movies, you do want to see Pierce Brosnan being cool, Sean Connery being cool. That's what Bond is in the movies. But in the games, the successful games, my favorites, GoldenEye and I think Nightfire, I want to be the guy. I want to be Pierce Brosnan. I want to be fucking like, I don't want to see Sean Connery looking handsome and doing the shit. I want to feel sneaky. I want and maybe it's the third person and the lack of like interactivity with the gadgetry. It's like, no, like I'm him, not this character. It just like somehow it took, and I don't know if it's like the third person, but it's just, you remove yourself from it. It's like it's just like I'm watching a movie or something, and it's terrible.
Totally.
Two things, like one of which is that like Shane started talking earlier about like the point of view perspective of some of the earlier Bond games. And like, I think there is like a fundamentally like immersive aspect to like, I'm just seeing, like, I'm in first person. I'm literally not seeing Pierce Brosnan outside of the context of like a cutscene or whatever, like the start of this isn't supposed to be celebrating GoldenEye, but the way that GoldenEye does it is like pretty elegant, because it's like you see your character, you orbit around it, and like the camera like slams you into his head.
That's so good.
I think it also speaks to it's awesome, but it has nothing to do with From Russia with Love. But one of like it speaks to what I think the goal of this game production was, which was, look, it's Sean Connery. Look at him. He's James Bond. Like, the game doesn't want you to feel like Bond. It wants to like show you. And that's what I was saying. Like, if you are able to turn off your brain and just sort of like pound through it, it's like, oh, this isn't really a game. It's like an interactive like production. Like I use this phrase with Alon. I said it's you operate the game more than you play it, and like the reward of your operation is you get to like listen to Sean Connery and look at Sean Connery.
You listen to the MP2s that they
you basically are like Maggie Simpson's wheel in the car, and you're just going like this, and Roger's driving.
Truly.
You're like, oh, beep beep. You're like, cool, this is fucking sick.
Like, I've always been interested in the Nintendo GameCube. I'm so excited about the GameCube remapping.
Wait,
they're doing some interesting stuff on. They did a demake of this on the Dreamcast that I find really compelling.
I want to read a quote, like a genuine quote from him, because like as I'm researching the game, I'm like, what is this? Like, why does this exist? And I found Actually, someone else talk about something. No, I found it. Okay. I found a quote from Sean Connery. As an artist, I see this as another way to explore the creative process.
Shut up.
Video games are an extremely popular form of entertainment today, and I am looking forward to seeing how it all fits together.
Yeah.
He did not leave his home in the Bahamas to record the lines. He recorded the lines from his home studio.
No
that was
cap, this shit's busted.
I'm gonna hit the gritty. He's dead, by the way. We're but
Rest
you know
in
it's Sean, rest in peace.
He would have loved this.
This was his last.
He would have liked me.
He would have been like my dad. This was his last performance as James Bond, by the way.
Crazy.
Which, what does that mean?
Sorry.
Well, I want to go back to the casting, right? Because we talked about how we wouldn't have put Sean Connery after reading this book. We wouldn't have fit Sean Connery to this Bond in this era. But I get it. They're going for the huge mega star or whatever to sell tickets. But were you guys as pissed as I was the whole movie, just being with the casting? I read the book and then I watched the movie and I'm just like, that's not Kerim. That's not Kronstein. I was like, Klebb should be way uglier and grosser.
She should be way squatter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
goblin.
just looks like a normal lady, to me in the movie.
She looks like Frau Farbissina from Austin Powers.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. I mean, Kronstein. This is from some book action for you. Kronstein stopped listening. And then I'm skipping ahead a little bit. He examined the face of this dreadful woman and wondered casually how much longer she'd last in her job, how much longer he'd have to work with her. Rosa Klebb would be in her late 40s, he assumed, placing her by the date of the Spanish War. She was short, about 5'4", and squat, and her dumpy arms and short neck and the calves of thick legs in the drab khaki stockings were very strong for a woman. They go into it there's a quote from Tatiana later. It's she looked like the oldest and ugliest whore in the world.
Yeah, I said that one to Shane.
So
I was like, my
unnecessary.
And then she pops in the movie, and I was like, "That's not Klebb." What the
Right?
I was so pissed the whole time.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Her introduction in the book is by far my favorite part of the book. Tatiana's meeting with her
so good.
Truly horrifying she is. That's when I was like,
good.
I'm totally sold. Whatever you want to do, I'll read it. And that I don't know. I think some parts of the movie maybe get at that, but she's nowhere near as cruel and as strange as the book. And the book does a weird thing where she's kind of sexual too. And
yes. She's sexually gross and weird, and also they changed the plot, right? In the movie and then the game, she's not part of Smersh Russia anymore. She's done her own faction, but in the
she's a representative of the Bond villain world or whatever. Yeah. There's this common link, I think, that they hacked together for the films.
I was pissed with the casting, man. Kerim, I was like,
I kind of like Kerim.
I hate it. Absolutely hated it.
It was different from what I expected. From the book, I expected a big, jolly guy.
I expected Conan the Barbarian with a Turkish accent.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, a huge, crazy, misogynist, inhuman caveman almost. That's what I got from the book.
Because the book does spend time being he was a muscle man in the circus. Again, more of the body obsession stuff from Fleming.
Robert Shaw in the film is built like a fucking circus strongman. What a bizarre torso the man's got.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I saw Robert Shaw in the credits before watching the movie and freaked out. The movie doesn't give him that much to do.
I'm surprised you could read the opening credits. Tough to read those opening credits.
Yeah, exactly. I was shocked by that too. That it's the Bond movies opening credits having trippy, sexy ladies. I didn't know that it was such an ancient trope of these movies.
I mean, watching these at post Austin Powers is also hard and weird, right? It's oh, this is everything they make fun of. dude has a cat. Number 1 has a cat, and like just literally everything.
Totally.
It's like, oh,
number 3, like literally, Who does number 2 work for?
Yeah.
Bennett and I were saying before we didn't know that Austin Powers was like a parody of James Bond. We just thought it was just wackiness.
Just wackiness.
Yeah.
When we first watched it. Yeah. I was fucking obsessed with those movies. Shane, we should do episodes about the Austin Powers movies.
I would love to.
Well, yeah, you got to read the book, dude.
It's so much better.
You got to play the Game Boy Color game. As I was watching this film, I was like, oh yeah, this is Austin Powers, but Austin Powers he just looks so different. Like he's like stylized, like it's
so colorful and stuff.
It's a whole other thing.
There's a Alon, you mentioned misogyny, which I would like to touch on in the book. I feel like it's clear in the movies like how misogyny manifests, where it's like super sexy ladies, they're clearly sex objects, especially like as Bond goes on into like the 2000s. It's just like your basic 2000s misogyny where women don't really, like Bechdel test style misogyny, where it's just like they don't really have personalities and they're usually used for sex. In the book, I don't know if this is just the way they were doing it in the 50s, but Ian Fleming seems like a true fucking pervert where like he casually drops in that Kerim has he at one point has a woman who he keeps in a dog crate.
Yes.
And that he like, she ends up getting like Stockholm syndrome for him, and he keeps her on a leash and he feeds her scraps. And then that's just passed off in like a few pages. And I was like, okay, that's odd. And then we get to the I was like, surely this is a red herring that like we'll come back to, and Kerim will have some dog obsession or something,
or he's like atoned for it in some way, or like learned something from it.
Nope.
Turns out it's just totally brushed off. That's just something that happens in the world.
And then
we get the women fighting where they just like get nude fighting each other and they're gonna kill each other. I was like, I think Ian Fleming like he like doesn't even have a casual hatred for women. He like wants to see them dead. Like he wants to see them like debased, abused, and dead, like not sex objects. It's like way past.
It's less.
What if we like what if they like got nude and we cut their heads off and then cut them as
the
slaves?
depiction it depicts it's literally like it's more of the body fetishism with like no connection to sexuality. And if there's any connection to sexuality, it is again like people like sex, right? Because Bond is just observing it, and like he takes the time to write like Bond could feel everyone panting around him, and Kerim started to vibrate. Like it's like Ian Fleming knows that people like sex, but Ian just likes bodies. And like I don't totally it's
well, I think he like exposes himself a little bit with some of the Kerim stuff, like you were saying, Shane, too, where like it's not only that it's brushed aside, it's like Bond keeps coming back to the fact that he like loves Kerim. He's like, he will be one of my 5 friends who I adore and look up to. And then there's Kerim quotes that are, here's a quote: all women want to be swept off their feet. In their dreams, they long to be slung over a man's shoulder, taken to a cave and raped.
That's so crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Why'd you write that, bro?
I read that and I was like, are you crazy?
To say that. That's so
it's fucking insane. And this is why, not to, go too much more on the casting, but this is why when I saw Kerim in the movie, I was like, that guy's not that guy.
Right.
I was like, this is like a nice, proper man.
Okay, I'm glad you still like him.
Yeah.
Kerim in the movie has like a much younger woman being like, come have sex with me. And he says, back to the salt mines. He's like, I'm busy. Well,
did you see him working?
Kerim in the film. Yeah, totally. It's a different character.
It's a different character. The one in the book literally only eats raw meat and raw fish.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. I did mention like early on in our group chat about how I was getting so much American Psycho from this book.
Oh,
and that just like
names and descriptions of meals and things. Yeah.
The over describing, and then also just like we mentioned Grant earlier, like the first, whatever of the book, is like he's this psychopath, which he totally isn't at all in the movie, which I thought was a bummer. He's just like a killer in the movie, but like such a psycho in the book. He literally gets like a fetishizes murder when it's a full moon. He has to go kill something.
Yeah, dude.
He starts with like killing animals, like American Psycho. Then he just starts killing prostitutes on the street that no one will notice, and like bikes home.
Yeah, Fleming goes out of his way to be like, he bought a bicycle so he could go to more places to do more killing.
Yeah. It's funny that they just took that out. Maybe it felt too extreme for 60s audiences or something, and he's just like a bad guy. He's the most normal bad guy ever in the movie, but he's such a complete psycho, and I love the backstory about that.
They try to give him something of like they at least build out like a mechanic of like he's only in it for the money, but like barely. Like that's what is like ultimately his undoing.
Yeah.
And at the start of the film, it's very clear that it's like, oh, he's being hired for this job, but it doesn't really have any bearing upon like character stuff. Whereas the book is like pretty concerned. The book at the same time is like, when he showed up at the end of the book, I was like, oh yeah, we haven't talked about that guy that the book spent its first third talking about.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, I bet this is that guy. Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
He's back.
He's back. And there's a full moon.
But it's like Fleming wanted to write a little bit about a serial killer. And like the ideas in the book just like swirl in this way that like okay, my big take, this is a bit, so as I'm reading the book, I'm coming into it with like a lot of perspective on the Bond movies. And my entire life, when I was younger, I used to struggle with this and be like, is this because I'm a child and a fool? Bond movies, anytime I'm watching them, I have literally no idea what's going on in the plot.
Ever.
I think most people, that's true, yeah.
Right? Yep. And as an adult, I'm just like, I can follow complicated plots. That's not what the issue is. And so as I'm reading the book and sort of reading the book and having the same sensation of like, I have no goddamn idea what's going on, but I am vibing with like the really like close proximity writing and stuff like this. I forget what my broader point was. Like that's a point I wanted to just make sure I verbalized. It's like, oh, that's a Fleming thing, I think, of like, you don't need to, maybe it's better to obfuscate like broader things that are going on, so you go along with like the mystery of it a little bit better, but it's that's what I think it's
it's a good device in the books when you introduce too much and there's too many sides, to the point where like you meet somebody in the book and you're like, did we meet them? Is this like also a bad guy, or am I supposed to know that like Nash is like, and did we mention Nash as an operative earlier on? I think it like helps with the sort of like putting yourself in the shoes of like a questioning Bond. But in the movies, like there's so many of them where they're clearly trying to abide by what happens in the book, but it's just like they can't like pace it well enough, the way the book does, where it's like kind of pleasantly confusing. But in the movies, it's like Pierce Brosnan is like in like 3 different hemispheres and it's just like in a tank, and you know, like it's impossible to keep up, even with it took reading From Russia with Love to watch the movie and be like, okay, they're going here, I know why they're here, I know why this guy's playing chess at the start. Like Rosa Klebb doesn't like make sense, like she's not placed in the whole like hierarchy very well, where she's like the killer, she's like the interrogator, she lives in a room all her life and she brings people in and they fear her. She's just kind of like a Russian in the movie.
Operative.
Like
it's
the pacing. I like that you mentioned the pacing there too, because I mean, I've never made a movie, but that must be the big difficulty, right? Is like reading like when you meet Nash at the end on the train in the book. I vividly remember that, and having the thought that you had, Sean, of like, is that Grant? Like, is this our man?
Mhm.
And then it just goes on for like 4 pages describing like what he looks like and how he, like what's his vibe, you know, and Bond just being like,
I
this
hate
guy's-
that he says
"This guy's
this.
weird," and like he's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
weirding me out, but I guess I'll smoke one of his cigarettes
This-
because that'll like, you know, make it less weird. But like,
Yeah.
you can't do that in a movie, right? Because everyone just sees the guy. It's like, that's the guy, you know? And it's just, you know, it's such a, I found myself just, I don't know, maybe this is just what happens when you read a book before a movie. I have very little experience of that, but there's so many like little details where I didn't think I cared. And then I saw them inaccurately depicted in the movie. And I was like, hey, you know, like, you're supposed to pour Rocky with your left hand. You eat with your right hand. What are you doing? You know, like, why do I care?
It's so annoyingly obvious that he's poisoning her in the movie too. His
Yes.
fingers
Oh,
are like in
come
the fucking
on.
glass. Yeah.
Because it almost looked like it. He kind of grabs the bottle in a funny way, and that could have been it. That could have been where he just. But then they zoom in, and
He's
it's like
pouring down his fingers.
holding X
Is it in?
pile.
And it like fizzes quite visibly.
Yeah.
It's like,
Stirs it.
it's like
And
frothing.
even Bond is like, "Fuck you doing with the
What are
glass,
you
man?"
doing?
Yeah.
In
Well, like,
prepared
if
for
that's really Bond, surely he fucking notices, right?
Yeah,
Like it
that's like
takes you out of the movie entirely. Yeah.
I saw a
Um,
YouTube thumbnail that was like analyzing a scene as I was trying to
God.
find something about this movie, and it was like, this is when Bond notices that Shaw put the and it was like, yeah, dude, like,
we all
we
know
got
that
it.
is what happened.
Yeah, I guess like one of my takeaways from this whole experience is like I was saying earlier, like the game is trash and it totally absolutely is.
junk.
But the movie is way trashier than I thought too. And I didn't really expect
yeah.
that going in. I don't know if everyone felt the same. I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be one of the best Bond movies. This is one of the OG spy
Yeesh.
movies. Sean Connery, legend, Robert Shaw, blah, blah. And I watched it. I was like, this is just Hollywood
It's like
bullshit. Like,
a little
I found myself
flat.
very bored.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
boring. The
Dude, like it's like a
music
fucking
was like-
mumblecore movie. Yeah.
Yes, everyone's mumbling.
Truly.
The music, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. It almost never cuts out. Like it sounds
Really?
like, there's just like the theme is just.
They're so
going.
happy to be able to
And
use
all
that
the-
theme.
Yeah, they're just repeating it. I literally think. I literally think someone's like riding the fader and just like if someone's about to talk, they like literally lower, like pull it down and lower it a little, and then they're done talking and it's just like bum, ba-da-dum-dum. Wait, is there always music playing?
Well, it's like there's a notion of like these scenes without music would like,
Yeah,
because the movie feels pretty flat and dry.
Yeah.
like to begin, and this isn't just like modern movie sensibilities looking
No.
back at old movie. It's like it's about pacing and I do love Sean Connery's performance. Like I could watch him like just go like like that's like infinitely compelling to me, but it's like the actual beats of the script and like the way it's shot, the way that like where the camera's in the room, usually it's usually
Yeah.
just like, here's where we are. Now they're talking, and that's more of like an old school filmmaking thing of like, I shouldn't criticize like shooting a set, but like I think like if you think about what those sequences would be like without the pulsing music, it's like it would be like maybe painfully like,
sleep.
yeah, like it's just I get it. Like this is what's happening. Like I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like it's it brings my mind to thinking about like how the book is truly like an intimate book. As much as I'm going on and on about how Ian Fleming is obsessed with flesh, he's also obsessed with like detail. Like
so much.
you spend so much of the book just like really deep in like a description of a thing or like multiple levels of thoughts about a situation, and the film like they at some point in production or like I don't know at what point in the adaptation it's like we don't need to bother with that or like that's not going to be part of this. Like you can make a detail oriented film and there's like a little bit of this and they go way out of their way to be like, here's how you open this trap suitcase.
Yeah.
They spend like 5 minutes on that and like they're showing you the suitcase.
I feel like what we run into with adaptations a lot is that when it becomes a movie, the director will have some, they maybe fell in love with the book and they adapted it the way that was like faithful to them. And there's sometimes movies that are really successful at just like capturing, like someone loved this book and they made their version, or they tried to. And I can't help but think that like this movie is sort of a business endeavor. Like
It's
when
cynical.
the credits roll, the credits roll and it says, "And don't worry, you're gonna love the next one." And it literally has the name of the next movie in the fucking original credits. That like, and the same thing is with the game, where I've watched an interview with the maker, and he's some buff asshole who's just clearly like, we got Sean Connery right, and this is the most advanced facial technology in any video game that's been heretofore. And it's like, okay, but like, do you like Bond? Like, do you like the book? And I can't help but think like, if I was Ian Fleming, I'd kill myself, because my thing is like, they took it and then they said, oh, like the most profitable parts of this are like British spies and killing and sex, and we'll hit that button over and over again until it's 2025 and we have to fucking redo old books and shit. Like, money seems to like feed all creative decisions. Like having Adele do the soundtrack, it's just like, oh, look who we pulled for this one. And then hitting the like, profitable button that we can, like they all struck gold. Because they're still cranking out fucking Bond movies. And is there a Bond game recently?
I was sitting on this the whole time, and this is a shining light. This is a good thing, because like, as cynical as like Bond is, because Alon and I just talked about Super Mario Brothers on our podcast, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and like I said some shit about how like, who gives a shit how people adapt Super Mario Brothers? Like, it's all an IP nightmare. Like, whatever, we're done.
It's all Mario, baby.
It's all Mario, baby. I got Mario. Anyway, point is, there's a new Bond game coming out from IO Interactive, who are the developers of the Hitman series, which are like some of the more interesting video game designs of the past 10 years. And like are well equipped. Like those are games that deal with like detail and scenario and not character really, but like
that's okay.
They're like situation simulators, basically. Like it's all the quietness that I love from the Bond book, but like rendered in a game format. And then like the splashes of action that sort of come up in the book rendered in game format.
Totally.
And so the notion of that team of people making a Bond game is like genuinely exciting to me, because it's like, oh, you're going to be just walking around a party. Okay. Like, yeah, dude, cool. Like,
there's some Bond games you could do that.
Yeah, walk around a party.
Yeah, some of the GameCube ones.
And before I don't know where else I'm going to say this. I was shocked in From Russia with Love that there is actually like a quiet sequence, the video game. Like, you go to MI6's training headquarters and you just sort of walk around and talk to people. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, now we're James Bond. But then it like quickly turns into like fighting robots. Like,
there are some tough sequences, like basically boss fights of like a mob of thousands of soldiers that you have to like. Bennett and I had a hell of a fucking time getting through some of these maps.
It's tougher than I expected. Yeah.
What difficulty? Were you playing on normal? Agent?
We were playing on
Agent.
Yeah.
We played normal. I wasn't going to stoop to...
IGN gave this game a 7.9.
That is horrifying.
The whole thing's rigged. Throw it out. Throw out the whole team staff.
Yeah.
The thing about Bond also, a lot of the movies, not that good, but goddamn if I'm not so pumped for every single one that comes out, and I still have faith in like you telling me about the video game, like it's gonna be excellent. There hasn't been a good Bond video game in like 100 years.
And The little
same
things, the music, every time it hits, it fucking hits. I'm like bored in the movie, and then it just.
Who's lined up for every one of the Craig movies? I'll be there for the next one. Yeah.
Why not? And in the same way that you're talking about like filmmakers adapting Bond and like glomming onto what they love about it, is that like part of maybe just like what Bond is? That like it's just this pile of stuff that like you just refract through your own lens of just like
whatever you want it to be.
Well, I like my favorite Bond's Timothy Dalton. Like you're able to like get that specific. I'm just like I kind of loved the tone that they were going for because it's like fucking Batman or like Sherlock Holmes stuff.
At this point,
it's just this like tapestry of content. Which, like, I don't say as a positive or negative. It's just my first note that I wrote about the game or about just Bond in general is Bond about stuff? Like, is it just a pile of stuff that like you can extract?
It's different guys. It's not one guy. There's like 8
It's just 007.
Yeah.
00.
There's at least 2.
It is. What are they going to do? Eventually, they're going to release a Bond movie, and a certain part of the country is going to be like, Bond's fucking woke now.
They've been doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, really? He's already
it'll probably, well,
I think it's going to be a black lady for Bond. And
that did happen in
so
No Time to
mad.
Die. There's a new 007. Yeah. Technically.
Yeah.
But I think Amazon bought it. I think this new
secret
Amazon one will
woke.
be woke. I'm telling you.
It'll be woke.
It'll be woke.
And you could put your
Bet your bottom dollar. 007 is
Famously
woke.
woke Jeff Bezos.
Because the book is like a
I'll still like
horrifying.
woke Bond.
Yeah, I'm still gonna watch. The book is like we mentioned, like horrifyingly misogynist, but the movie is like that, like that charming Harrison Ford kind of level of misogyny, where it's just like she could have like kept her mouth shut or like whatever.
Yeah,
It's like that was really stupid, but like, all right, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm dancing around. I don't want to just casually invoke this because I don't want to say this glibly or jokingly, but genuinely, it's misogyny is at the core of this stuff. Like Ian Fleming is a misandrist. Like I don't think he knows women, and I just want to say it that like at least in the film you literally see Sean Connery strike a woman. That doesn't happen in the book. Like there's not like actual the violence is like totally the violence towards women is like totally externalized. This is a dark road to go down. The video game, I have to imagine there's just like no women in it at all.
I don't
like,
think there is. Basically,
Tatiana's in it towards the end, but that's kind of it.
That's basically.
I've read on Wikipedia that Maria Menounos is in it.
No, she's in. Is she in the From Russia with Love game? She's in one of the Bond video games.
You can confirm presence of Maria Menounos?
Not in the From Russia with Love. I can confirm she's in a Bond video game. She might be in All or Nothing.
She's in From Russia with Love.
Wow, all
I can confirm.
Wow.
There we go.
I don't know who this person is, but she's in there.
I also wasn't brave enough to make my joke of Nuvi Zone.
You don't know Maria Menounos? Come on.
Nah.
From
Nuvi. She used to be the 20.
I don't know what that is. Is that the same as Tubi?
No,
I don't know.
Nuvi is like when you show up
be.
early for a movie in theaters. It's like,
Oh,
upcoming.
cool.
I'm like, she hosts.
Cool.
And there might be like a 30-second clip of Maria Menounos interviewing Jesse Eisenberg. It's good stuff.
It's for the adaptation into film, having Bond hit a lady, the director is kind of like, well, I have my Bond, you have yours. My Bond likes to hit women.
My Bond,
He doesn't quite like the dog crate stuff. That's here nor there, but he will strike
that's a bit
lady.
much. Yeah, it's I don't know how to have a nuanced conversation about, because it's like on the one hand it's like pretty just like tired basic. The Bond films themselves try to address it. They have Judi Dench in like Goldeneye yell at Pierce Brosnan like, "You're a misogynist dinosaur." Like they have like Judi Dench be woke in like 1995, and it like basically hits because it's fucking Judi Dench, and it's like
woke Judi Dench.
It's like, yeah, dude, like the people making Bond get it. Bond is sexist, but then the film proceeds to be like,
yeah, just do it.
Every
sexist
hottest
garbage.
woman of the year is like the next Bond movie. Like our whole lives, that's what it meant, basically.
And Bond, try not to squonk Halle Berry's boobs.
like a honky horn.
Won't make any promises.
What do you guys think of the prose though? Like we keep describing like how he's like really detailed and like excessive and obsessive amounts of detail and stuff. But did that stuff work for you, or was it just kind of like, shut up already? Like I don't know. I almost thought like he was throwing so much at the wall that some really stuck with me, and I thought some was like really good, and then other times I was just like, okay, yeah, you know, I get it. Yeah, I can picture it.
Yeah, I thought it mostly worked. I actually was impressed with the prose style compared to kind of my memories of it and compared to like my idea of its reputation. There's this chapter that's very much unlike the movie Bond when he's on a plane that's like about to crash, and it describes him going into like his like mind palace.
He's so nervous.
He has like a hurricane room like in his brain that he describes like going into, which is like, I don't know, you don't imagine that Bond in the movies ever having like any sort of like anxiety. You don't imagine the Bond of the video games again, because I'm him and I don't have anxiety. I'm having any anxiety.
Even the armrest is wet in that scene because he's sweating so much and he's so nervous. And like Sean Connery's just like, he ain't that. You know, he has no depth at all, really.
I think it's twofold that like. The level of detail lets you like it builds the characters out. Like the characterization like feels pretty good in the book. I think like you understand like why people are doing things. And then the other version of why I think the detail works is because like I think of this book kind of like a hangout book. Like it's you're sort of just hanging out with Bond in these situations and with his friends and lovers and like the level of detail is like, yeah, man, like we're just here. It's described. Sorry, Shane, I cut you off a little bit before. Do you remember what you were gonna say?
Well, I was thinking about the different presentations. I could see Ian Fleming being like, no, the movie's like that's like also like this book. And I'm thinking of the people that go to the movies to see a James Bond movie. It's like I feel this way. Like when I'm going to see a James Bond movie, it has to have like boobs action and, you know, cool stuff. And then if I'm going to read the book, I want it to be a little more subtle, maybe more cerebral. Like, you know, I don't need all the like graphic sex scenes, but you know, one here and there would be nice. But like, you know, I'm looking for a little bit more of a deeper experience here. I want to see what the source material is all about. So it's like almost appropriate that it's a little like it's just more interior.
It is just a medium thing, maybe. Yeah,
intimate.
And then the games, it's like, well, I guess killing.
Forget about it. Yeah,
you can't have sex in the game, so just more killing.
Not yet.
Why not?
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
So,
I do like just to give Ian Fleming a teeniest bit of little credit. I do like how he's super judgmental of men in the same way that he is about women. Like it's not like he's oh, this guy's cool, and then he 3 pages about like a woman's boobs. Yeah, like he's literally like, I mistrust anyone who ties his tie with a Windsor knot. This fucking blah blah blah. You know.
That's interesting. Yeah. He does take like, you know, he's like egalitarian in his overwrought description.
He just judges everyone. Yeah.
He maybe just hates people.
Kind of.
I get the sense that like he thinks he's the fucking man.
Definitely.
Too.
He thinks he's the most proper, like smartest.
Have you seen pictures of the guy?
No, I haven't actually.
Holy shit.
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
I did like the barest research into who he was. And he was literally, he's like he's a rich boy. Like his like parents were like famous bankers, and he
he's
kind of served in the Navy and like got famous at 45. And like I think a lot of the book is fine. Like the book is solid. But I think
the book. I think
I like the book.
The book I like way more than the movie, and we don't even have to touch on the game. I mean, the game is hot trash.
Electronic Arts. But yeah, I get the sense that like a lot of the legacy of this stuff is like there must have been some PR shit about like Ian Fleming. Like he's the forward to the book that Bennett referenced earlier in the episode, the author's note of like, Smersh is real. I was there. Like that
he is like
it's
stolen valor.
just a little a little bit of stolen valor goes a long way towards selling like a book to John F. Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, well, no, this is real stuff. This guy was there.
It's like being in the Navy. You get to like pretend you were in the military, but all you did was like
sit on a boat.
Sit on your best buddy's lap.
In the Navy.
Yeah. Shane, all of our midshipman listeners are going to hear this. Midshipman is the guy who's like in the Navy, like a naval academy.
Shit. Okay. Man, where should we wrap up? Do we have more stuff?
Well, I guess we should say 0 out of 100 score for the game.
Okay.
0.
IGN style decimal system for the game.
4.0.
4? Yeah.
4.0.
I'd go lower. I think it's like a 3 or a 2. I think it's just like complete waste of time.
Given that the goal of the game is look at Sean Connery run around and shoot gun, 6. Like if that's the goal, like it's not a pleasurable.
Is that what we're judging it on? Like, did they execute their goal? Because I'm judging it on my experience of playing the game.
It doesn't feel like a video game. It doesn't have like the elements of game design that games have. It's like
crazy that like you get to the 2000s and you think like, oh, we know what games are like we know what works, and you're still just like, I have no idea.
I've never played a game.
It feels like an Atari 2600 game, but with like a mocapped Sean Connery in it. Like it's
and this
just
dude
like,
went to direct CODs after this.
Wow.
He was director of Dead Space and then a bunch of Call of Duty games.
That guy?
Yeah.
he's
Michael
kind of
Condrey of Sledgehammer Games.
Yes. He's like kind of beefy.
He quite publicly like failed recently though. Like his projects are falling apart, or they're not falling. He gets projects over the line, Like I think
that's a good description of the game.
I was only half joking when I was like, the
got
game
released.
like they did it, they produced it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Call of Duty's an interesting comparison because they have, Call of Duty 4, one of the best games ever, and then like the whatever came after it, and it was like, what the fuck are we doing, guys?
A pile of similar.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Do we rate everything? How do you guys do it?
Yeah, we can rate the movie too.
I don't
What do you give the movie out of 10?
Bennett, start us off, Bennett.
I give the movie like a 6.5 out of 10. I was like mostly disappointed with it when I saw that everyone I follow on Letterboxd gave it like 4.5 stars. I guess I just don't like the James Bond movies. I don't know.
I don't like Sean Connery as James Bond.
I'm a Pierce Brosnan.
Well,
yeah.
I love Sean Connery as Bond. I don't mean to. I'm sort of named after Sean. I don't know if this is my dad fucking with me or not, but he's told me in the past that I'm named after Sean Connery.
Wow. You kind of have the look.
Before I forget to say, sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I'm the same with Bennett there. I think like a 6-ish is fair. Like I was mostly disappointed. There's a couple moments, but it was mostly just like, this is kind of just a pile of whatever.
I like the Istanbul though. I think that bumps it up a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Like it being like sort of a document of Istanbul during a certain
that's true.
time.
Yeah, truly.
That's cool. Yeah.
There's some cool set design and like textiles and outfits. And the train. I like the train.
Train,
so
train was cool.
I'm gonna say it gets a heart from me.
Yeah,
nice.
I'd give it a thumbs up because I found the film like eminently watchable. Like I was watching it and just like, yeah, all right. Oh,
I'm watching this.
Okay. Yeah.
Look at me go.
I'm watching a movie.
I'm paying attention.
This is such a hell yeah. I'm watching a movie type of movie.
This is definitely happening.
This is like what, like a 14-year-old like rents at Blockbuster and sits on his like dad's big chair and be like, "Yup, I'm
Yeah.
fucking watching a movie."
I invoked my dad, but truly, I don't want this. This doesn't need to be the end of the episode. But last comparison point I want to make about these Bond movies.
Well,
when
your
I think
dad liked the movie.
my dad loved James Bond, and he was a great man. No, it was like an early movie that we watched together, and like
that's nice.
like it was just we watched Bond movies, but at the same time we also watched like Godzilla movies, and I think like the Bond and Godzilla, the first Godzilla movie is one of my favorite movies, like full stop. But like you think about how these types of stories are replicated and like what component, like I think Bond movies and Godzilla movies are quite. This has nothing to do with anything.
No,
but
it's
like
true.
They're similar molds, I think, because it's just like
Russian nesting.
this is what we're doing. This is what this is. Like these are the pieces. He's gonna say shaken, not stirred. He's gonna go like it's and it's part that's Godzilla. That's Godzilla's roar.
I see.
You know the iconic like.
Yeah, of course.
But truly, the gag being that like it's just like a cue. Like these are
Right.
This is a film. The book isn't this. The book is like a book. The film. Say I know.
No, I said yeah.
He said, "Hell yeah,
I know.
I know.
yeah." We read it, dude. And the book spends 10 chapters describing the Russians' plan.
It's cool.
That's the best part.
And then the
Yeah.
That's why it's
movie
cool.
is just like, yo, the hottest girl in Istanbul wants to fuck you. We don't know why. And he's like, I'll have to check it out.
She's hot.
Yeah.
What if I killed her?
Yeah, what if I killed her and stole the lecture?
It's
Okay.
it feels like it's just a bunch of cues. Like it's just stuff and cues.
It's
And there's
kinda
a guy named Gil.
After you,
Sorry.
and it's
Oh,
Yeah.
and there's Q.
Yo,
It feels like
when Q comes
after-
on screen, you should be
Yo.
pointing at the screen and yelling.
that face when Q comes on.
That's Chappie.
It's like after you become like if you have Alzheimer's and you need to be like, you know, like they'll play your favorite song or something and you'll like come back to like some semblance of your life. It's like watching a Bond movie is like relearning like, oh yeah, see, I know all these guys.
Brain
Yeah, man.
activity. It's like,
Yeah, it's like
hey,
little spark. Yeah, my
Yeah.
alpha waves are
I
kind
know
of going.
this.
Shane's
Yeah.
back to life.
Sink back into my couch. Like, actually, that shit's fucking stupid as fuck.
And with that framework, I think the Bond video game is like kind of reflects that core, like this is what's become of Bond. It's like it's just
yeah.
here's the pieces. We put it together, didn't we? You can't say we didn't.
What more do you want?
You can't say you're not interfacing with this right now. Like it's just a plain 2005 shooter that
Yeah.
like
Mm,
it's the most 2005 game I've ever played. Like
Yeah.
mm.
yeah.
So
So
you're saying adaptation is just a game of telephone, basically, and
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just went like pretty wrong from book to movie. They didn't say what I said when I read the
Mhm.
book. They said some
Uh-huh.
other shit, and the movie was like, all right, I can make a movie out of that. And then it went horribly wrong when the movie told the video game maker, here,
Yeah.
now make a game out of this. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
no, you totally missed it.
yeah.
That's a good telephone is a good way of describing the way they handled these adaptations.
Yeah, I think so. And then are we
Shall we?
rating the book too? Do you guys do that? I don't know if you guys do that.
Not
What's the real
typically,
rap
but I'll rate it.
play?
I'll give it
Gets
a
a
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
I gave it 4 stars
Thumbs
on
up.
Goodreads.
I want to read more James Bond.
Me too. That was
Yeah.
my big takeaway. I was like,
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Same. The book truly the book was
Maybe Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I feel like might get more at the like
cerebral
minutia. Yeah.
What is that?
And
I
I
don't
hear-
even know what that is.
It's a Sean
was a
Le Carre novel.
movie-
It's like he's got this character George Smiley, who's like a very like unglamorous spy. He was really a spy. He was more actually in it than Ian Fleming was. Like Ian Fleming
Okay.
me-
Okay.
seems like he's kind of stuck in between like wanting to paint it as like unglamorous what it really was, but also like from whatever he did in like naval intelligence, he's clearly like a fan. Like he clearly like loves like spycraft.
Yeah,
Like, oh, isn't this stuff so cool?
These guys are so cool.
Yeah. Well, that's a key, caricature.
I'd
Like,
also
Bond is a caricature.
Right.
I just want to make sure I observe that Ian Fleming also wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang,
Yeah.
which is about a flying car. So,
Didn't he live in Jamaica or something? He's just imagining flying back to the motherland.
He's got that fucking Jamaican plantation
called
Goldeneye.
That's where he read this book.
It's
Yeah.
called
Goldeneye.
Goldeneye.
Yeah.
Honestly, very cool. Ian Fleming, if you're listening, that was cool. A lot of other shit you did was not very cool, but you're good in my book for the Jamaica
I'll
part.
give you one soy face.
Well, I'm pointing at a map with
At
Jamaica.
Goldeneye. Map of Jamaica. Hold on, put this in the frame.
Sean, that's for the thumbnail.
Yeah, cool. What's the time code?
1:30. 90 minutes.
Exactly.
All right. Should we get out of here?
Boy.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks,
It was
guys.
great.
I'm a longtime listener. Love Wide Flank, so thanks for having us.
And shout out to Real Rap. We're psyched to collab, and maybe there'll be more collabs in the future.
Ooh,
love it.
who's
Yeah.
to say? I was.
This is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Shane, you go.
I was going to say that the original conversation where this idea was sparked was me and Alon going back and forth, like clearly soy facing at our computers, like, what if we did Bond? Like, Alon was like, we should like do a podcast, and I was like, yeah, like one of us comes on, and you were like, no, like full crossover, and I was like,
You
yeah,
put it
like,
out in your feed, and we put it out in our feed.
yeah.
And
And then it was like, wait, like a game adapted into a movie? And then I think, Alon, you were like, no, like a game adapted into a movie, adapted into a book. And I was like, Halo?
We could totally do the Warriors. I mean, that's still another one.
That was my original
out there.
That was
they've got
another
it in
one.
the Philly library system, the audiobook. It's also on Spotify.
yeah, you can Libby that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to put Alon through reading another book, so maybe we'll.
No, I want to be put through that. I'm telling you.
You do seem to like the abuse.
I like reading a lot. I'm just really, really slow. And
I get it.
I know this is like a common thing, but it just puts me to sleep. So I get in
Aw.
bed
It's
every
honestly
night,
great.
and I'm like, all right, get a fire up from Russia with Love. I get a page and a half in, and like,
And he's
"Ah,"
snoozing.
into sleep.
That's
And then the
honestly
next time
like
I
a-
open the book, I have to go back 2 pages. 'Cause I'm like, well, I don't even remember where I was 2 days ago. Shit. Shit.
Kind of a great gift. I remember some famous art filmmaker was like, man, if my movies put you to sleep, like,
Oh,
that's
I think
pretty
Abbas
sweet.
Kiarostami said that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, what better gift could you give someone than to lull them to sleep
Yes.
as like an adult?
Yes. It worked.
All right,
All right,
guys.
y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye.